is up, everybody? We are back for another episode of The Real and the Rare. I'm your host, as always, Steven Rychel. And our special guest today is MMA veteran, UFC veteran, BKFC color commentator and analyst, and talent evaluator, Mr. Christopher Lights-Out Lytle. Chris, how we feeling today, my friend?
What is happening, man? Glad to be here.
It's always a pleasure catching up with you guys, man. There's always something going on in combat sports, bare knuckle, everything in between. So there is no off season for combat sports. All the other sports you get an off season. It's nonstop with the combat sports world. It's one of the reasons why I got into doing podcasts, just because there's just so much to talk about from so many different angles, whether it be boxing, MMA, bare knuckles, kind of really blown up over the last seven years or so, but it never ends. It definitely never ends. So appreciate the time today, my friend.
Of course. And let me tell you, you can say whatever about, bare knuckle. It is just starting. We're not even on our hot streak yet. As soon as people really start paying attention and really watch, it's going to blow up because, man, I'm watching like that last, the BMF title. I had to wake me up twice. I didn't know what was going on there. So
it's dead. I literally just did an interview with Sam Alvey. I'm like, it's a novelty now. It's dead. It's dead. The actual spirit on what it was made for is gone.
Well, they're going to keep trying to do it because it'll make money. But I mean, I'm just saying, just the whole idea of even it didn't matter even if it wasn't for that. When you have a fight of that magnitude, and just anyone, when you got somebody who's like, I'm going to just control this fight for 25 minutes, and you have that happen a lot. I don't want to watch it, and I want people. I mean, we're 10 minutes of action. Every time, you're going to put on great fun fights, and if you want action and you want to see knockdowns and you want to see people getting truly, concussed and hurt and put on a great fight, a great show, and heart coming back and getting up off the canvas to win, you're going to love BKFC. So I think as soon as people really realize that, we're going to blow up.
I think you already have in some sense. I've been sitting there saying it for a few years now. I felt Ronda kind of put some light onto it, this past week with her press conference. But I think it's been the secret of the combat sports world is that the UFC is taking a nosedive, in my opinion. They are it's not the promotion it used to be, one, and it's. They are lacking star power from everywhere, and that's the reason why they even came up with a BMF belt, because it's just they're not doing what they're supposed to be. In my opinion, you guys, BKFC, bare knuckle, have been kicking them in the teeth for the last 2 years.
Well, here's the thing: is I feel like the rules set up and the commissions are really doing a detriment to the UFC. For example, everybody loved Pride, the Pride rules. Not only was it, the you could kick the head of the ground, whatever need. I'm just saying the scoring system. It's like the person who's trying to finish the fight is getting more benefit. If you sit there and lay and try and stall, you will get yellow carded, and that takes you money. So they really push the pace of wanting to have people fight. I feel like it's went the opposite here in the States. They're going, okay, if you could just, it's a 5-point must or 10-point must system like boxing, control and win each round. So if people know this is what I have to do to win, this is what I have to do to make money, they're going to continue to utilize those rules and manipulate them and do what they have to do to win. That doesn't make for fun, entertaining watching. It makes for a boring fight. And that more you encourage that, the more you get it. We don't do that. We encourage action. And that's why our rule set is going to make it in the future. We're just going to continue to get better, and they're going to continue to be more boring.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way you guys do it. I mean, I'm sure people are like, oh, well, I wish it was more than 2-minute rounds, but I think that's what's forcing these guys to be more active too.
100%. I mean, it's more for sprint. You have 2 minutes to do a fight or a round. You have to go out there and make something happen. If you have 3 minutes, you sit back, you wait a little bit. We want that. We want people going faster, harder. It's a sprint. It's not a long, slow fight. We want people coming out and fighting hard and making it a good show.
I mean, that's what you guys have been doing, man. So, I mean, and you guys have been killing it. Listen, that's what Elizabeth's telling us. That's what we want. We want the action. We want you guys are getting action. Anyone who tunes into BKFC, that's what you're getting. And you guys have grown a lot. I mean, I was fortunate enough to cover Dave's promotions when he was here in Philadelphia when he was doing the XFE shows before BKFC came a thing. I remember the conversations we used to have about it, like how his thoughts were on it. To see where he goes from there to where he is now. I was sitting there saying the other day, the only thing you guys are missing is like a reality show, and you're doing kind of somewhat of a sort of a style like that with the Fight Club that's going to be going on in April. So,
yeah, he's always got different things. Wanting to do more reality type shows. The main thing to me is just get seen more. The more airtime we get, the more people who see us, the more they're going to go, man, that's a lot funner than the other stuff I'm watching. Exactly. Yeah.
I heard a rumor that you guys are also looking to try to get onto one of these bigger platforms like Fox and ESPN and stuff like that. I know you guys have streaming deals and stuff like that right now, but is that the ultimate goal to be like on Fox Sports or ESPN or something to that effect?
Of course. I mean, what I keep saying, the more eyeballs we get, that's all we need, in my opinion. The more people who see it, the more they're going to be like, I like this a lot better. So it's just about, I don't care if we made any money from those deals. I just want to get eyeballs on it so more people see it. I mean, I've had a lot of people who didn't like the sound of it. Bare knuckle, I don't want to see that. I don't want to watch it. And then they watch like, oh, that was amazing. Exactly. Once people see it, they're going to fall in love.
I think even from when I've talked to other fighters about this, like this, what you're watching is the natural response of what a fight should be. What you would see if you have a gentleman's agreement. We have a problem. You have a problem. Let's throw hands. In reality, all it is that except there's doctors and there's a referee there. That's about the only difference of what you see if you're in an actual fight.
It's been amazing. I've talked to many fighters who were UFC fighters, high level, and they'll be like, they weren't sold on it until they came to a fight. Like, man, that was amazing. Like, they love it. And a lot of people are like, yeah, I'd be interested in doing this. Like, it's not what you think until you see it. And then it's just a different level of reality. Like you said, this is as basic as it gets. I want to punch you harder than you're going to hit me. And I'm tougher than you. We have a lot of that. We have a lot of tough guys who get knocked down, get back up, and they knock the other guy out. It's just amazing. It just shows heart and determination. I love it.
Listen, there's a lot to love, and you guys are, I think, bringing in a lot of the talent that wants to be in these real fights. They're not point fighters and things like that. And even like some of the, I still think it's funny that Luke Rockhold's still running his mouth, about Mike giving him a good thrashing and kicking him right out of bare knuckle after one fight. And that was that thing you were talking about, just the mentality of it.
It's just different. Like you talked about, different level of toughness. There's some guys who might not be that great at fighters, might not be that technical, but it doesn't matter if you are tough, extremely tough, and you can take a punch and you can hit somebody else. There's a lot of these very finesse fighters. This is not made for them. This isn't made for everybody. This is made for the toughest, hard-nosed guys. And if that's not you, do not even try and take a fight. You will get exposed eventually. And once you do, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. And you guys are doing everything you can to find those type of people. And this past weekend you had not one but two different tryout events that you were I guess the MC to, so to speak. What is it like having to kind of bring those guys in there, and what are you looking for? If you're writing a blueprint on the people you want to see that you guys are going to sign, bring in for contracts, fights, whatever, like, who are you looking for, and what could some of these athletes, fighters, etc., do to kind of get your guys' attention in that way?
We're looking for a couple of things. Obviously, we're looking for people who have skill. I mean, I don't care if you're tough and you're a terrible fighter, you're not going to fight for us, so that'll be hard to watch. But I want to see people who have skill, have toughness, and at the same time have some kind of a story. Like, why are you doing this? There's usually, if you want to do bare knuckle, there's usually a reason. I mean, that's one thing David Feldman always talks about. What is your why? Why are you here? What do you want from this? What do you want out of this? And we have to know these things. We only have so many spots on the roster, so I'm looking for a little bit of everything. You have to be the full package. And I try and tell people, if you're not the full package yet, you can work on that. I mean, nobody's good at interviews at the beginning. You just have to, well, most people aren't. It takes some time. Every time you do a new interview, it's like a sparring session for a boxing match. You get better each time you do it. So work on everything, work on your skills. We have people who have great, skills at hitting the bag, hitting the mitts, but they just don't like having punch and stone with it. You got to work on it. You got to spar more. So just look for somebody who knows how to do every part of fighting. And not only that, but you're just what we always say, he's a dog. He's tough. He'll take. I always tell people you have to be a good hammer and you have to be a good nail to be good at this sport.
I think it's a great analogy. It really is. And, I tell a lot of guys, if you're doing that, you have to have that Rocky spirit, it doesn't matter how many times, you get hit with a bomb, a good combination, pick yourself up, dust yourself off. And, as Rocky did in Rocky 1, come on, I want some more. Come on.
We've had multiple guys get knocked down 3 times in one round and come back to win. That's my favorite thing in the world. When you deal with that kind of adversity, as a fighter myself, my favorite, fights have been one where it wasn't easy. Like everybody likes an easy knockout, but that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't prove anything about you. I mean, to myself, when I've gotten dropped early and came back and won, that proves everything. That says who I am and why I'm doing this. And we get that. I mean, like I said, we get that almost every fight, almost every card. Somebody will get knocked down and get up to win. We have a lot of times where we've had 2 guys knocked down twice in the same round, multiple times, but they both knock each other down twice. And somebody's getting off the canvas to put the other guy down. I absolutely love. You don't see that in boxing. You don't see that in MMA. Well, you do, but it's very rare in both those sports. Mm-hmm. You see it all the time in our sport. So if you want to watch like a true people coming in to deal with adversity and overcome, BKFC is what you want to see.
Now, you were mentioning something like some of the fights you were in, and you were down and out. I remember watching the fight against Koscheck. You were cut open, you were busted up, bleeding. I think that has to be one of the bloodiest fights I've ever seen. For a while, I'm just sitting there screaming. I'm like, they need to stop this. They need to stop this. And sure enough, as you get to the meat and potatoes of that fight, you start picking yourself up. You start putting it back on the job. It has to be one of it wasn't one that went your way, but it had to be one of my favorite fights of yours, just because it was like it didn't matter what happened, that you found the way to kind of give it back.
Well, I think in a lot of my fights, it was a lot of hopefully I always proved that there's no quit in me, and no matter what you do, I'm going to keep coming. I think especially that fight was one where it showed me, like you said, a lot of people were like, oh, why didn't they stop it? I was like, they better not have stopped it. I mean, it wasn't causing me to not be able to see. It wasn't stopping. I was bleeding, but who cares? It's his blood. And so when I finally got up to my feet and I started throwing some punches at him, I could tell he was like done. I was like, I don't want this fight anymore. He just wanted to be done to win the decision, which and my job was to try and knock his head off. So, I look at all these fights as like, I might have lost the fight, but I feel like I won the war. I feel like I won the battle. Like a lot of people look at me like, dude, you're going to keep coming no matter what. And that means a lot to me, to have people understand, how much you care about this and where your heart is. And like you said, that Rocky spirit, you're not going to win all these fights, but, I want to be known as somebody who's going to put it on the line every single time, bring it, and put on a fun fight.
What is your favorite fight of your career?
It's probably, I don't know. I was probably thinking like a boxing match I had. When I was talking about where I got dropped badly in the second round, they almost stopped the fight, and I ended up knocking the guy out in the 7th round. And that was just the reason why is just because, I've never been stopped, but they almost stopped that. When I talked to the referee later on, he was like, I almost stopped that. He said, if I had known who you were and watched you, he refereed some of my fights. Like, I was definitely stopped. But he's like, I just said, let me give him a minute and see how he does. And I came back and I was going against a better fighter than me. I was. The guy had more athletic skills. He was stronger. He was faster. He was younger. But I just had more heart than him. And so a lot of fighting is all about in between you and yourself. What can you do? Overcoming your demons, and believing in yourself. And after that, I had a ton of confidence. Just going, man, I can do anything I want. Nobody's going to stop me if I don't want that to happen, So, and I never got stopped from it. So it was nice.
That's one of your traits, man. You're like an onion. You got so many different layers to you, my friend. You were a firefighter.
Onion, I like it.
And then the other thing is, you wrote a book. You did a book about bullying. How did that whole thing come about, and how proud were you that actually came out?
Well, I have my youngest son has autism, and so I'd always kind of worried about him being mistreated. And then at one point, I was talking to somebody, and they were talking about where I lived at the time. Indiana was like one of the fourth biggest states for like bullying incidents, and I remember somebody who committed suicide. I'm thinking, how would you feel as a parent if your son or daughter committed suicide because of people picking on them and making them feel bad for? And most of the time, it's nothing they're doing wrong. How are you gonna make somebody feel bad for something that's not their fault? So I was like, man, you have somewhat of a voice in this area. You need to, that's why I wrote that book, and I started going to schools and like, giving the book away for free and have the school and have some people just pay for the cost of the book. That was it. And I'd talk about the book, and I'd talk to these schools about standing up for people to help other kids who are having problems stand up for themselves. Everybody can't stand up for themselves. Like, I need somebody to help my son out if there's a problem sometimes. So that's kind of my goal. It's unrealistic to think everybody's going to be nice to each other. That's never going to happen. Like, if I told everybody to be nice and 2 out of 100 weren't, it can cause a lot of problems. But if I get 1 or 2 people to stand up for some kids, that can make a huge difference. So that's kind of my goal with the book, and that's why I wrote it.
Is that like your proudest accomplishment, getting that book made and being able to kind of give back to these kids in that way, outside of wins and losses in a ringer cage?
What's really cool about that is, for a while, when I was doing a lot of that, I'd get people who would contact me on Facebook later and just say how much that had helped them. Me coming to the school and talking to them individually about this type of thing, and how they were in a really dark place, but talking to me really, she had some perspective on their life, and they understood things better, and they knew, and I was talking about how, and when you get older, this won't be the case, and don't look at things short term right now. Try and look long term, and utilize these painful things into making something good. I always talked about how everybody of who's done something great, there's some pain behind that. Like, you have to motivate you to do something impossible is very difficult. Why would you do that? Well, there's something driving you, and it's usually pain. I mean, positive things don't usually drive you. It's usually some kind of something negative happens. So learn how to turn this negative thing into something positive. And I've had people really come back and thank me for how I was able to help change their life. Man, you can't beat that. How can you beat that as far as if you affected somebody's life in the right way? Isn't that all being an entertainer and being on TV is about? It's trying to influence people.
Listen, very few and far between people that go out of their way to try to do the right things in those type of ways. So that's why, as soon as I seen that, I was like, oh, we got to talk about this.
Well, thank you, man. I'm glad I get that out there. Anybody needs somebody, anybody needs some books, or anybody need me to come talk about anything, please let me know. I haven't been doing it so much because I'm so busy with the BKFC, but for a little bit, I was able to make it to when we go certain places with BKFC. I was able to try and go to a couple places, and man, if anybody wants me to, I'd love to come. I'll come talk to a school. Just let me know.
See and that's what I always say. Like, doing stuff like that means a lot more to some people than you realize. And I say it all the time. Like, when I do these podcasts, if I can connect you with somebody, anybody, whether, I say to the fighters, whether it's somebody who becomes a fan of you because of this, if they wind up buying tickets, merch, whatever, if I've connected you with one person, I've done my job as journalist, media, however you want to quote that. And it's one of the things that why I enjoy having these conversations, because I have this saying, like, you guys all have stories, and sometimes it's not easy for everyone to have access to the stories. And I think that's one of the few good things the way we consume content these days, is that it's so much easier accessible to get these things than when we were younger. Everything, like, if you had to do it, we had to go to the library, we had to go through all these file cards, find the book, like, everything's so much easier access. And I think that's the only true great thing about social media, is that it's almost instant connection.
Oh, 100%. And the good thing, you get to know these people's story and what's going on and why, what makes them tick. And hopefully there's some good positive stuff coming out of there. There not always is, sometimes very negative, but then and I want to know more about The problem is so many people are influenced by, like you're talking about, social media, and it's in the wrong way. You don't know what you're really looking at. And when you really dig deep and you find, what's buried underneath, it's not great. But, there is a lot of good things out there. And if you can go out there and connect that, thank you for what you're doing to help everybody understand that.
Listen, I'm just a cog in the wheel, so to speak. So I just try
as am I.
and you, like I said, you're an onion, man. You have so many different jobs. We already talked about the talent evaluator, but you're also the analyst and color commentator for BKFC. What are some of the maybe things that people don't understand that you guys have to deal with as you guys deal with the production side of things when you're trying to call a fight, when you're trying to get maybe some of these new guys that you don't know their names or whatever. Like what are some of the, I guess, unique things that you would like to share in that aspect?
Well, first of all, we know everybody because we interview every fighter. We have if there's 12 fights, me and Sean we'll sit down and we'll do 24 interviews, the day before weigh-ins, and we talk to every fighter, find out, a lot about why they're doing this. We'll find out what their game plan is, what their thoughts on their opponent, how their training camp. We want to know everything about these guys so we can understand and talk about it during the fight. People don't really understand that we do that with everybody. And then people don't realize how much information you're being fed while you're talking. You might be talking in the middle of a sentence and the guy on your earphones is sitting here saying, you need to talk about this in 3, 2, 1, and boom, you have to go on to something else. So you got to cut off and let this guy do it. There's an advertisement. You have to so while you're talking, you're trying to think people are talking in your ear, and you have to learn how to think about what they're saying, think about what you're saying, and end at the right time. It's very difficult.
You're a multitasking magician on top of everything else.
You have to be, or you're not in this job for long.
Out of some of these young guys that maybe the general public doesn't know, like who moving forward, are you really excited to kind of call their fights, watch them compete, watch them grow, etc.? Who are some of outside of the champions and some of the guys that are budding stars and stuff like that? Who are you looking forward to seeing getting back in the ring this year?
Esteban Rodriguez. I've always liked what that guy's been doing. Mohawk, man, you were talking about positive energy. Every time that guy,
my God, dude,
he's so happy, so excited, and it's contagious. I just you love what he brings. I love what he does. So he's killing it.
I interviewed him right after Knucklemania, and it was just I was just so infected with his energy. I can't disagree with you. Like there's nothing I disagree with what you just said about Esteban. I mean, his story, where he came from, he was talking about being bullied as a kid, being thrown in a locker, to being the imposing figure that he is today, and there's no mistake about it. He's a ball full of energy, but it's so funny. I say it all the time, like. Some of the nicest guys in the world are in combat sports, but they find that switch once they get in there and they become a different person. And he's one of those guys that has that. And I really do wish him the best in this upcoming fight. I hope he does get that championship, because he's one of these guys that he'll go and take that belt and go and give him to some kid who's just going through it. And that's just the type of man he is. And that's why I was completely infected by that interview, and really looking forward to that upcoming matchup in Denver. I think it's going to be a fun fight.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody, when they get in this position, do the right thing with it. A lot of people start drinking the Kool-Aid and believing how great they are. He's not going to be that guy. You can just tell he's in it for the right reason. He's the right person. He's who you want to see excel.
Yeah, he's grounded in so many ways. It's just like if there's anyone who's going to do right with their success, it's definitely Esteban.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So now, as we talking about that, is there any fights that hasn't been made in bare knuckle that you think that we're either going to see or have to see at some point in time?
Yeah, there's quite a few fights that I'd like to see. I'm not sure even what I'm allowed to say.
Don't get yourself in trouble.
Some of these are in the process of happening. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And I know a lot of people were excited. They thought that Esteban, Mohawk was going to fight Tomahawk, the Battle of the Mohawk type things. They talked about that at the last Miami card or Hollywood, Florida card, and I thought that would be another fun one to watch. Man, it's funny. We'll go through sometimes. Me and some of the guys will just talk about all the different matchups we can make, and like that'd be amazing. So then we send up the chain, and they might be in the works right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, don't get yourself in trouble, Chris. I don't I don't want Dave or Nate coming down and be like, why'd you say
exactly
that?
Chris, we're not telling you any more information. You leak it.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure you keep into those lines of information. So I mean, I guess the one question is, if and when Mr. McGregor does ever step in the bare knuckle ring, who would you like to be the first guy that stands across from? Is it Mike Perry? Is it someone else on the? Is it maybe someone that's not on the roster? Who? If you're the matchmaker in that point in time, who you make stand across from him?
My dream is for him and Nate Diaz to fight bare knuckle. They're 1-1 in the UFC. You got to settle it. You got to put this here and let it be. Let them play it out here. That'd be fantastic.
I mean, I think it's almost done that he's probably not going to fight in the UFC after what we just seen over the last week.
You never
just
know.
gave Conor $15 million. They wouldn't pay Ronda and Gina. I mean, what we already seen what happened with Francis Ngannou a few years ago. I think the writing's on the wall that we're not going to see Conor ever step back in the UFC cage.
I mean, who knows? To me, people always ask me, like, how long does that contract last? I'm like, it has to be up by now. I mean, I don't understand how this legalities work. I mean, he hasn't fought for, 4 years? I just don't know how that works. 3 years? I thought after a certain time your contract was null and void. I don't understand. Like, I'm not in the legal side of that, so I'm not sure. But either fight him or let him go. I just don't understand it. But
I think he did make statements that he felt like the contract was null and void just because they're out of the pay-per-view model, and that was so deeply written into his contract. But if I remember correctly, it was either 3 fights or 3 years. We're past 3 years now, so I think at this point in time, just reach out to a lawyer, get the contract virtually ripped up, and either start over from new or move on to competing wherever you want it is, whether it's in a boxing ring, it's in the bare knuckle ring, whatever it happens to be. But I in my opinion, I don't think we're ever going to see in the UFC again. That's just my take, just from what we're seeing with the landscape is right now.
I mean, it's hard to tell, but I mean, I thought for sure he was going to fight a couple of times. That hasn't happened. I wouldn't be surprised if he never fought there again.
That's kind of where I'm feeling, and it's it's a strange day in the combat sports world. It's ever evolving. There's pros to it, there's cons. But you've been in the game, you know how it goes. Sometimes it's a messy business. But and speaking of like the messy side of things, right? So this month is Brain Injury Awareness Month, right? And I always talk about this because it's the one thing that you can't see. It's not diagnosed till either long after it's fully taken effect or you're no longer with us, that before something can happen. As combat sports as a whole, what do you think? Like, whether you're talking bare knuckle, or we're just talking boxing or MMA itself, what do you think we could do more to protect athletes from some of this stuff, or even mitigate some of it? Because obviously it's par for the course. You guys are going to get punched, kicked in the head, etc., whatever. But what can we do to kind of help protect some of these fighters? And now I know you got the BKFC is enacted some different rules, age limits, consecutive losses to kind of protect the fighters from themselves in that way. And I do agree with some of that. What do you think else could be done or should be done?
I mean, I don't know if there's anything you can really do. In my opinion, you have to surround the fighter with the right kind of person. I was fortunate when I was boxing. I remember I had a boxing match, and it was a pretty good war. My coach was like, "Man, that was amazing. That was great. You got 4 more of those." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Because I think I probably already had like 8 boxing matches, and he was like, "Hey, you're not doing more than 5 wars. After that, I don't care what's going on. Your career's over." And I was like, "Huh?" So, but because I was with people who actually cared about what happened to me, I see so many times when people have these wars in the gym. You can't train like that all the time. You can't train just beating each other senseless. That doesn't make any sense. You have to have good people who understand the sport, qualified people, and making sure they're caring for their guys. If you just throw people in there all the time, that's why I hate to see older fighters go to the boxing realm. I don't care about. I had about 80 MMA fights, 15 pro boxing matches, and 3 bare knuckle fights. The most damage I took was in boxing. Boxing is brutal to your brain. And you get these MMA guys like, I'm going to go to boxing now. I'm like, you're 42. I mean, you're going to get your belt wrong and wrecked. This is the worst time for you to go to boxing. When I was 15, I had 15 pro boxing matches. And when I got on the Ultimate Fighter season 4, I ready to sign a contract saying I wouldn't do any more boxing and I could just fight UFC. And I was mad at the time. So glad that happened to me, because otherwise, if I had more boxing fights, I was not a slick guy who tried to stay away from fights. I tried to get in there and mix it up. If you fight like that, you're gonna have problems in the long run. I mean, all my favorite boxers have brain damage. Why? Because you train all the time, you fight, you push it to the limit, and if you're tough, the guys who get knocked out quick, they don't get as bad, because it's that repeated. You take 20 punches to the head per round, round after round after round. You're too tough for your own good. You get brain damage. So when you're really tough and when you're really hard nosed, you're going to be messed up at the end. So I hate seeing that, and I don't really know how you can stop that. Besides, you have to put people around the right kind of people. Otherwise, if you have bad people, they're going to keep throwing guys in there. They're going to keep having them train like idiots and just beat the brakes off each other. You have to have the right kind of trainers to say this is what we're doing, and seeing. You need to be smart enough as a fighter to say, maybe I've taken too much. Like, now I don't want to spar hard. Like, I'll go in there and play around still, but I'm not sparring hard. It doesn't need to be done.
See, that's the one I always go to. Take out the hard spar. Listen, you guys are gonna go after a certain point, after you've done, you with the right coach, right gym, they know what you're capable of and you're not capable of. So what's the point of sitting there having to, you're having a 3-month camp and, 15 times in that camp that you're doing hard sparring rounds. I think that, because I think a lot of times, and I think Forrest Griffin talked about it before his Anderson Silva fight, he got knocked out like a few days before that fight and still took that fight.
Yeah.
And more than likely, that's probably why we see the result that it got stopped as fast as it did, because he had already got knocked out within a month's period of time, and the result was what it was. So it's like, it's one of those things, man, where I think, if anything, that's kind of the only thing I would say from the outside looking in, that I would maybe try to tell fighters to curtail a little bit, because obviously you have to spar, in some way, shape, or form, but I think the hard sparring is probably the only thing I would go to, at least in my opinion.
It's so hard, though, because, when you're in there and you're training for a fight, when you get a couple, like, I don't know if say alphas is the right word, but you get a couple fighters in there and it starts going, people step it up a little bit and they hit you hard. You want to hit them a little harder. It just gets escalated quite a bit. But, I mean, at this point, it took me a long time to totally take my ego out of it. Like, you can't have ego in there. You have to say, I'm doing this for a reason. Like, right now, I do it to stay in shape and so I can still see punches coming. But if you start hitting me hard, I'm like, I'm not fighting like that. That's not the way to do it. It's stupid. All it does is lead to problems. You want to be smart. I want to keep my mind and my body as good as I can for as long as humanly possible. Like I said, I've been fighting since 1998. I can still do enough to commentate. I can listen to one guy talk in my ear and me say something different. I'm doing fine because I've been smart and I've been able to figure out the right time to curtail it. But once again, I was around the right kind of people. I was around the people who told me, "What are you doing, Chris? We're not sparring." They told me the way to do it, and I listened.
Now that goes to the next one. And I want to know if this is a correlation of that. I'm not sure if you know or don't know the exact reasons behind it, but Zach Calmus was just released, and I think he's along those lines of not having the right people around him and just having a style of fight that isn't conductive to a super long career. Do you feel the consecutive losses plus kind of what's kind of going on with him as in general is what led to his release, or no?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like, Zach's too tough for his own good. He'll sit there and take a lot of hard shots and won't go down, and they'll just keep, or he'll keep getting up. And at some point they got to think, what are we doing to this guy? How's he going to be? Dave Feldman being a former fighter, And like myself, I don't want to see any fighter at the end of their career not be able to speak right and have brain problems. And that's one thing I love about bare knuckle as opposed to boxing. You're not going to take 30 or 20 punches to the head per round hardly. Like that brain's not going to keep hitting the skull like it does in the boxing match. The no gloves will make you get cut open. And, I could tell immediately when I was going to, I didn't have my first bare knuckle fight until I was 43. And when I started training, I was like, you can't trade. You have to be slick. You have to learn how to not get hit. Really focus on defense. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of bare knuckle guys who have a lot of brain problems. It's just not really in them. But I mean, the people who will, the people who have who are hard nosed, who are tough, like Zach, who just keep taking it. But he's done other combat sports. But I think Dave and them just felt like this guy's not going to be our champ, and we're not going to continue to have him sit there and take these shots over and over. What are we doing here? Him actually caring about the people might be bad for our company, but it's good for us overall. It'll let us sleep at night. I don't want to see somebody messed up at the end of their life, or not at the end of life, after the fighting career is over. I don't want to see them have cognitive problems because we want to make some extra money off them. That's not right.
Yeah, it's not right to make money off of somebody else's blood. It really isn't.
Exactly.
We are in the blood sport business, quote unquote, so to speak, but it's not and that's why I do appreciate guys like Dave that you probably could have re-signed him, had him have another 3-4 fights, but what was he going to look like after that was done mentally after everything is done? I think that's more important than making money off him as a promoter. It is the more important thing. And unfortunately, he's already re-signed. He's already with the other promotion, and
that's the thing you talk about. But you don't see that often from organizations. You don't see that often from. I mean, most promoters will fight you to death if they can. They will run you until you don't care, and then they'll throw you away without a second thought. That's the norm. It's good to see that Dave has taken this. I don't want to do that. He definitely doesn't want to do that. It's
the admirable side of promoters don't always come to the surface, and it's not always seen. But
there's not many of it. So there's not much of it. So.
No, there isn't, because most of them are like we were just talking about fighters. Why are you in this? Some of the promoters are only in it to see how much money they can make, and if it's off your blood, if it's off your injury, if it they don't care as long as they put money in their pockets. And those are the people I don't want anywhere near combat sports, whether it's boxing, MMA, bare knuckle, or anything in between. I don't want them in this business.
I don't want them in there either, but they pretty much dominate it. So.
We all got horror stories from some type of promoter just doing some dirty shit. So, I mean, it is what it is. Last one for you that I asked for everyone, right? So I think we always talk about GOATs in sports, right? Tom Brady's the GOAT, Michael Jordan's the GOAT, Wayne Gretzky's the GOAT. From all different other sports. And I always say combat sports is the hardest because one, you have boxing, MMA, bare knuckle, etc. And you have different weight classes. You have men, you have women. I think the only fair way to do any of it is Mount Rushmore, right? Is that way. So if you're making your own personal Mount Rushmore of combat sports athletes, who's on your Mount Rushmore, Chris?
Man, it's tough. That's really so many good fighters. And the way I look at that is, and this is for MMA, right?
I mean, I always say combat sports in general. If you want to do a mixture of boxing, MMA, bare knuckle, however you want to do it, it's your own personal.
You're making it even tougher for me. I mean, usually when I go with my MMA side, I like to, and when I'm doing this, I always try and put in for that time who it was. For example, I mean, there was a time, in my opinion, Anderson Silva for about an 8 to 10 year period was the best fighter in the world. Maybe the best fighter we've ever had.
I still think he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He doesn't.
I mean, people have no idea how untouchable he was for about 8 years. But then when they stay too long and they lose down the end, then it kind of tarnishes that record. So I would say he'd be on there for that period. He was one of the best that could be. I mean, he could play with people. You couldn't beat him. He was so unstoppable. I definitely put him up there in MMA. What else do we have from the MMA side? I think you have to throw John Jones up there. Not a huge fan of all his antics and what he does, but I mean, I don't think he's ever really been beat.
Inside the ring, his run from just before he won the belt till I think it was like 2015. That run, I don't think anyone's ever going to touch that run. The list of names that he has on there, how do you beat that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like I said, it was just so dominating. It's hard to even understand. I also think, this is an old school guy, but when you come to MMA, I think, I'm always a big fan and believer in Randy Couture, a guy who could do it at multiple different weight classes and really change the sport and innovated and put his technique and weaponized pace and just understood. I remember a couple of times early on thinking he was getting beat by a couple of guys and just shocked how he came. He just utilized his training camp and his smarts and his intelligence to come out there and dominate. So, I mean, I know it was early, and I know a lot of people would have, thought he wasn't one of the greatest, but, man, he was definitely up there in my opinion. He's a phenomenal resource, and he understands the slide. He's great.
Listen, I think Randy is the newer era, modern day, like two-weight champion of that era. That another guy that just doesn't get any love, and he has one of those, one of those resumes. It's may not be the greatest win-loss record. I mean, dude, he took on James Lights-Out Tony. I mean, stop playing with me. And not only did he didn't even let James get off a punch. That has to be the most impressive part of that fight. Not just the fact that it happened, but he didn't even let James throw a punch.
Yeah, that was a smart move. I mean, James Tony, great nickname by the way, but I mean, just smart. I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna shoot a little single, take you down. Not gonna give you a chance to punch me. Now this isn't a boxing match. This is a fight. I'm gonna finish you. But I mean, Randy was just, he did a great job of utilizing what he does well at all times and make you do what you can't do. Very smart. He had a great mind for fighting, more so than people understood.
The fight IQ is so underestimated in fighting sometimes. Like some guys just want to be the tough guy, or sometimes it's all about the fight IQ. It really is. And it doesn't matter which part of it. If we're talking boxing, if we're talking MMA, even bare knuckle, because you do have to still be smart in there, not just throw your hands with reckless abandon. And
I was talking about that, when I'm doing, my fighter interviews, and that's usually a big thing to me. The fight IQ is everything. I mean, if you understand what you're trying to do, you're going to have a good chance. And if you're just the guy who comes forward, you better be just tough as nails. But that doesn't last long term. Like I've always thought, I love the way Justin Gaethje fights, but I'm like, man, you're gonna have problems in your future, man. Even when you win, you get beat up. You know what I mean? That's just gonna be a tough way. I think he's gonna have a lot of, cognitive problems just due to his style. Which I appreciate the fact he's been able to lay it on the line for the fans, but someday the price you have to come pay the piper for what you've been doing, and it's not gonna be good. I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. Like guys like Justin, you do have to kind of look out for. But he's also one of these guys. He gives back to the community and stuff like that. Like he's going to be remembered much more than just being Justin Gaethje.
He's a great guy. Like I said, I like everything. He's been one of my favorite guys to watch fight. But I'm like, man, I want him to seriously think about not doing this more because his style is just brutal.
It is brutal.
It's fun to watch.
Really does.
Bad.
He's got a nasty one. Now we're talking fight IQ. Who's the one champion in BKFC that you feel doesn't get enough credit for their fight IQ?
I have to say Kai Stewart. I mean, man, he does a great job of fighting his fight, and that's all fight IQ to me is deciding when and where the fight's going to take place. If you can determine that, you're going to win the fight. If you decide when and where the fight happens. And he does it every time, no matter what you think of his style, if how much power he has, whatever. But I mean, he's dominating these fights. He's winning easily, and he's making good boxers and good MMA fighters look bad. So I don't think people appreciate how difficult that is to do, and he's doing it very well, and that's all fight IQ to me.
I couldn't agree with you more. He's one of these guys that, came into bare knuckle by accident almost, and
He did.
he's literally taken what he's got and completely ran with it, and for all intents and purposes, taken himself to the top of the mountain. And we're about to see him test himself again here in less than 2 weeks. It's going to be interesting to see that fight. Now you're talking to you also have a podcast. When are we going to see that again?
Man, I haven't been doing. Okay. Let me tell you here. I had trials last weekend. I have fights this weekend in England. We have fights following the weekend. Give me a weekend here in the next 2 months that I'm available. There isn't any, and I'm traveling a lot. It's just, it's almost impossible to do. I can't really, I can do this with you because this is yours. You do all the work. All I have to do is come in here and talk for an hour. I can do that, but to do anything more in depth, it's so difficult to do at this point.
And I think you need to have someone come with you, man, because
what I've learned about myself,
you get behind the scenes, that's great content too, Chris.
It is. But what I've learned about myself is I can do 10 things poorly or 3 things well. I'm sick and trying to do 3 things well, and I can't. I want to do more. That's my problem. I try and bite up more than I can chew constantly, but I got to pull myself back and be like, no, just do this so you can do those things well. I want to do things great. I don't want to do things average, because if you do too much, you can't do it all great. I know that. I've learned that. So it reminds me of the time I was hanging out with these comedians for a long time, and they got me on stage, I think 2 or 3 times to do like little sets, and I did it a few times, but I was like, man, when I realized if you want to be good at that, you got to do that 3-4 days a week. And I'm just like, I don't have time for this. I'm not gonna get in and look not good because I don't want to put in the time. Well, if I want to dedicate all my time to that, I could, but I don't want to dedicate my time to that. I want to dedicate my time to the BKFC. So this is what I'm focused on at this point.
Can't say I blame you there. I do agree with that sentiment. Hopefully, you do get some time and can sit down and have some fun conversations with whoever in the bare knuckle world, combat sports world. But as I wrap this one up, I typically throw it over to our guest. Anyone you would like to thank? Obviously, you don't have training partners or teammates or anything like that, but shoot out your socials. Any charities you're working with, anything like that, anything you want to share with the people. The time is yours, Chris.
I just want to thank everybody for listening. Please check out the BKFC if you haven't checked it out. Like I'm telling all you guys, it is the next level of combat sport entertainment. Keyword being entertainment, the most fun sport you will watch. And if you don't like it, come to an event, and I think you'll change your mind, because, man, these things live are unbelievably good. So I'm just glad I'm part of this organization and just part of the sport, man. I absolutely love it.
I can't agree with you more. I've taken my kids to MMA events. I've taken them to football games, basketball games, baseball games. Not this one, but the past Knucklemania that was here in Philly. I was able to get tickets for both my kids, and some of the reactions I got from them, I was like, I haven't seen you guys that excited for anything like this. I mean, granted, they're a little bit older now, so they appreciate things a little bit more. But I mean, listen, it may not be the ultimate family environment or whatever, but it's, if you're a fan that you love wrestling, you love fighting, things like that nature, it is definitely something that gets the blood flowing, and I think it's going to be one of the best events to kind of go to, for that younger to mid-range type of crowd. I mean, I think you guys have a lot of great things going for you. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future continues to hold for this guy, and hopefully we see you a little bit more here in the Philadelphia area. I heard some rumors that you guys are going to be here more than just this April when it comes to Fight Club. So hopefully we get to see a little bit more of your face, my friend.
I appreciate it, my man, and I guarantee we come to Philly quite often. And, man, all I got to say one thing is that first fight in Philadelphia, that Knucklemania, that was one of the best cards I've ever been around. It was so cool, and that place was so electric. Wow! And every fight delivered. We got lucky.
Yeah, that's what it really does come down to sometimes, is the fighters putting it out, and then the crowd. I mean, I tell everybody, like, the energy of a Philadelphia crowd, that you can't duplicate it. The only thing I could say that you could replicate that with is college football. When you go to those college football games, that's the only thing like I think can kind of somewhat compare to it. So, guys, keep doing what you're doing. Keep putting up on these great cards for us, and I will always be selfish in saying I want you guys here more in Philadelphia more.
We'll be back, Steve. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
All right, Chris, appreciate your time, and we'll catch up soon, my friend.
Take care.
All right, everyone. That was the one, the only Christopher Lights-Out Lytle. Is a man of so many different tasks. He's a writer. He's a former fighter, former boxer. He does all kinds of stuff for BKFC. So, again, appreciate his time this afternoon. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. We will be back the 15th. We were just talking about him, the King Kai. He's going to be on the Sunday before his upcoming title defense. So, guys, make sure you hit that QR code. You like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out all the content here on the South Florida Tribune. Other than that, this is another episode of The Real and the Rare. We will catch you guys Sunday. Peace out, my friends. Catch you later.